This is your official WWE Clash of Champions 2019 review here on the JBSN Media Network YouTube channel page. Jeff here with you. Let's get into it. They had two matches on the kickoff. We start off with the first one, which was, of course, for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. It was a triple threat match. We had Drew Gallagher defending the Cruiserweight title against Carrillo and Dorado. This was a great match. Unfortunately, the building was half empty yet again, but these three put on a great match to get it started. I noticed there seemed to be a couple more botches than you would normally see for cruiserweights or 205 live performers here, but this, to me, I thought was a very solid match. Gallic does win to retain the title. He pinned Dorado after Carrillo had hit the Aztec springboard attack on Dorado, but then Gallic eliminated Carrillo. He posted him and then sent him to the outside, and he got the pin and retained at 10 minutes and 5 seconds. So it was a pretty good match to start it off. I give the match itself a B-. I thought it told a pretty good story. It's just unfortunate, once again, it's buried on the kickoff in front of a half-empty building. The second match that took place on the kickoff, which was a bit of a surprise to me, was for the WWE United States title. We had AJ Styles defending the title against Cedric Alexander. The club did come out with AJ initially, but then he just sent him back. And they have the match. It's unfortunate here because the match did not go very long. Both guys do what they could here. It's a decent match, kind of like a house show match to me in a way. AJ does win the match at 4 minutes and 55 seconds. In the end, he hits the Styles Clash and got the win on Cedric to retain the title. Afterwards, the club members, the Good Brothers, came out and with the assistance of AJ, they laid out Cedric Alexander. There was no run out to help Cedric this time. They just laid him out and they sent a message here. I gave the match a C. Unfortunately, they just didn't give the match enough time. Unfortunately, it was on the kickoff as well, which was a surprise to me. I don't think this match belonged there. So those were the two matches on the kickoff. On to the main show itself, it started off with the WWE Raw Tag Team title match. We had Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins defending the Raw Tag Team titles against Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. I thought this was a decent match, a good match. Pretty much told a good story here. Rollins and Strowman get the offense going early. The heels get their stuff in for a while. They work over Seth Rollins for a while here. Eventually, the babyface of Strowman and Rollins battle back. The finish comes when we had a little bit of miscommunication. Seth Rollins inadvertently hits Braun Strowman and sent him to the outside. That was enough of a distraction for Rollins as Robert Roode, I should say, came up from behind and eventually caught Seth Rollins with the glorious DDT, and they got the 1, 2, 3. So, sure enough, Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode did indeed win the Raw Tag Team title, as I figured they would. That was my pick, and as far as the other two matches, I did pick Gulak to retain and AJ to retain. So far, so good. We're 3 for 3. This match went 9 minutes and 40 seconds. I gave the match itself a B-. It was a little bit above average. It wasn't too bad. I've seen better from all four guys, but they gave the match less than 10 minutes, so we had that. Next match on the card was for the WWE SmackDown Women's title. We had Bayley defending the SmackDown Women's title against Charlotte Flair. Of course, Charlotte being in her hometown, much like Cedric Alexander was on his show during his match at the pre-show. Charlotte gets a big reaction. Bayley gets booed pretty good here. So the heel stuff is starting to work with Bayley here. This match, unfortunately, this was one of the matches I was looking forward to. This turned out to be a big disappointment. Charlotte dominates on Bayley. The match does not go very long. Bayley ultimately, in the end, does win the match at 3 minutes and 45 seconds. They did a deal. They didn't show it during the live feed. They showed it on a replay where when Bayley was in the corner, she had taken off the bottom corner turnbuckle, and then we had a spot where Bayley sent Charlotte face first into the exposed turnbuckle there and then pinned her. And that was it. And then I guess the highlight after the match was Bayley just taking the title and running all the way to the back, because I guess she didn't want to miss the Baldwin roast that was airing on Comedy Central. So Bayley retains at 3:45. I give the match a D+. There's no reason why this match went less than 4 minutes. This was not a very good showing here, and these two deserved better. Next match was for the WWE SmackDown Tag Team titles. We had the New Day taking on the Revival here in a match that's virtually had very little build because of Big E and Xavier selling their injuries, even though we know they're not injured. And I just was not a fan of this match. This was, again, not very good. They gave this match a little more time than the women's match. You know, the New Day started off, then the Revival battled back. Towards the end of the match, the Revival eliminate Big E on the outside with the Magic Killer, and then eventually they get it on Xavier Woods after he tries to fight him off for a bit. They get him with the Magic Killer, and then instead of pinning him, Scott Dawson puts Xavier Woods in this modified version of the figure 4 leg lock. Woods hangs on for a little bit, then ultimately taps out after overselling because they did a chop block on him to set up the finish here. So Xavier overselling was one of the highlights of the match. The Revival do win, and they are the new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. I did not see that coming. Much like I didn't see Bayley retaining. I figured Charlotte was winning. I figured the New Day were retaining here, but we got new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. So both tag team titles had changed hands up to this point, so we had that. Next up, and afterwards, the Revival cut a promo basically downplaying the New Day and all that. Next up was the WWE Women's Tag Team title match. We had Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross defending the Women's Tag Team titles against Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Fire and Desire here. Prior to the match, they had done a backstage interview with Bliss and Cross, and then we see R-Truth and Carmella. R-Truth's holding the boom mic, and then we see Carmella on the headset. Of course, we have the mid-card or below mid-card losers chasing them. And of course, we would see that here during this match. As the match is going on here in the ring with these teams, we get the stupid 24/7 comedy spot here where R-Truth and Carmella run out, and the below mid-card losers are in pursuit. They do a spot where Alexa Bliss actually rolled up R-Truth in the ring, got a 2 count, and R-Truth and Carmella eventually able to escape through the crowd as the below mid-card losers chase after them. As far as the match, good stuff here. The outcome was never in doubt. Alexa and Nikki eventually do win the match to retain the titles. Alexa Bliss wins for her team after she pinned Mandy Rose. It's surprising that Mandy actually took the fall here and not Sonya Deville like they normally do. Nikki Cross does win for her team after she hit Mandy Rose with the twisted neck breaker with the assistance of the top rope. It was a kind of a cool looking move there, and it got the win. At one point, Mandy and Sonya were very close to winning. They had hit the high-low on Alexa and got a very close 2 counts. But yeah, Alexa and Nikki retaining, which is what I figured, so that was that. I gave the match a C. And as far as the New Day Revival match, I gave that a D+. I give this one a C. I thought this was about an average match. Next up was the WWE Intercontinental title match. We had Shinsuke Nakamura with Sami Zayn as his mouthpiece or American spokesperson or whatever you want to call him, his manager. He takes on The Miz here. It's just Sammy does a deal where he's doing like commentary on the outside with a microphone for the first part of the match. Eventually, they cut his microphone off to shut him up. I thought this was more like a house show match. Just kind of went through the motions here. At 9 minutes and 33 seconds, Shinsuke was able to retain the title. He hit the Kinshasa on The Miz to retain, following a distraction from Sami Zayn. The Miz had hit the Skull Crush and finale for what would have been the 3 count. Sami got up on the apron to distract the referee, and Miz went chasing around him. Shinsuke eventually caught Miz on the outside and then ultimately led to the Kinshasa for him to retain. I give the match a C-. I thought this was essentially a house show match. Next match on the card was for the WWE Raw Women's title. We had Becky Lynch taking on Sasha Banks in one of the marquee matchups on this entire program and on this entire card. This match absolutely lived up to the billing. They did a lot of great stuff here. I thought both women looked great here. This, by far, up to this point, was the best thing on the entire show. I was not a fan of the finish here, as both women were able to get their stuff in. They had a spot they had a spot here towards the middle part of the match after Sasha had hit Becky with the chair into the midsection behind the referee's back. Eventually, Becky uses the chair, but but inadvertently hits the referee, and the referee's selling it like death. They eventually, Becky and Sasha, they brawl through the crowd. They actually go up through the concession stands. We get a great shot of Sasha having mustard on her back. They eventually come back, work their way down to the ring. Becky's gotten the disarmer on her a few times along the way. Sasha's tapping. Of course, there's no referee. Eventually, Becky does get the disarmer on Sasha in the ring with the assistance of a chair. But unfortunately, we have all these officials on the back run out and break it up. And at 19 minutes and 20 seconds, Sasha Banks was declared the winner by disqualification because Becky hit the referee with the chair. So Sasha wins the match, but does not win the title. Becky retains. They're clearly setting up a rematch here. I was not a fan of the finish here. But they're clearly going to have a rematch at Hell in a Cell inside the cage. So we had that. I gave the match itself an A-. This was easily the best thing on the entire show up to this point. But yeah, I was not a fan of the finish here. And of course, subsequently afterwards, the WWE officials, quote, fined Becky Lynch $10,000 for inadvertently hitting the referee with the chair. So now they're going to do the stupid fine angle with her. They just did it with Kevin Owens, and that did not turn out well. So they're going to try to do it with Becky Lynch and see if they can get any better result. To me, it just makes no sense to do this. I think it's just lazy booking, lazy writing here. There's really no need for it. There's enough juice in the program here. We don't need Becky to be dealt with this, quote, fine. Next up was for the WWE title match. We had Kofi Kingston defending the title against Randy Orton. These two told a great story, as I knew they would. This was an outstanding match as well. Easily the second best thing on the show here. Back and forth, these two go. Randy dominates for a while. At one point, Randy eventually hits Kofi with the RKO, but unfortunately Kofi's near the rope, and Kofi was able to put his foot on the rope to break up a potential winning pinfall from Randy Orton. Kofi eventually battles back, and he hits Randy with one Trouble in Paradise kick, and that was enough to put Randy Orton down, and Kofi was able to retain the title at 20 minutes and 48 seconds to retain the WWE title. Now, whether the people say it or not, there were fans noticeably booing when Kofi retained here. It seems to me that people may be getting tired of him retaining the titles, so we had that. Next up was the no DQ match with Roman Reigns and Roman Reigns and Eric Rowan. Again, this was a great match as well. Maybe went a little longer than it should have. We got a big surprise here. There was no Daniel Bryan to be found, which was kind of interesting. And we'll see if that's explained this week on television. Of course, if you're listening to this on the podcast, we'll know the answer, hopefully. But sure enough, Luke Harper actually does make his return here. And I had kind of pitched the idea on Twitter before the match started that maybe they would bring Luke Harper back. And sure enough, he was the surprise here. He helps Eric Rowan actually get the win. Eric Rowan wins at 17 minutes and 22 seconds to get a big win over Roman Reigns. He hit him with the Iron Claw Slam after Luke Harper assisted. So good to see Luke Harper back. He's aligning himself with Rowan. And I don't know. We'll see what happens with Daniel Bryan. I gave the match an A. This was the best thing on the entire show. Even better than the women's title match and the WWE title match. Finally, in your main event for the WWE NBC Universal title, we had Seth Rollins defending the title against Braun Strowman. To me, the outcome was never in doubt here. Strowman gets some offense in. Rollins gets his in. Rollins hit 3 stomps, and Braun Strowman was able to kick out each time, but eventually he pulled out a pedigree, which we don't see very often. And then Rollins hit the 4th stomp, and that was enough to put him down. And Seth Rollins at 10 minutes and 54 seconds retained the title. And as he is celebrating on stage, and they almost got people by showing a copyright graphic there. The Fiend does attack and leave Seth Rollins laying after the mandible claws, so that's how they went off the air. I gave the match a B-. What is my official grade for the show? My official grade, and report card grade, I should say, for WWE Clash of Champions, I give it a C-. I was almost going to give it a D+, but the finish here bumped it up to a C-. It went off the air around 10:30, which is a positive. But other than that, besides the last few matches, this was mostly a forgettable show. So C- is my official grade. So that is your official WWE Clash of Champions 2019 review and report card grade here on the JBSN Media Network YouTube channel. I'm Jeff saying bye for now, everyone.
For the JBSN Media Network, this is Jenna Green speaking.